Bartail has been one of the persons who's watched all the shows. I talk to him on a regular basis in the EverQuest Next IRC channel.
What we saw with, Kunark for EQ2, you did those 400 quests, you did all the content. At the end of it, the world wasn't changed.
Yeah, I'm Phantom X. I do social media and write articles for EQ Nexus.
For the Fall of Bastion, there was a very definite, okay, this is where your story is going to fit into the world.
Listen, fluffy looking bear. Thank you. Listen, I went and I killed a dragon, and then 2 drops of whiskey hit my face, and I willed this manly beard into cow was raising. Yes.
Hello and welcome to EverCast Show, episode number 70? Wow, 70, which we have titled What Up Nexus, in honor of our conversation this evening about the WildStar and WildStar going free to play. I am one of your normal weekly regular hosts, Tanlin. With me are the 4 other weekly normal regular hosts, Calist, Flatus, and Lucy. Hi guys, how you guys doing?
I'm good. How are you? I mean, you live with me. It's not like you don't know how I'm doing. I have like the worst headache ever, but I'm still here.
But you went horseback riding yesterday.
What?
You went horseback riding yesterday?
I totally went horseback riding yesterday.
I didn't.
It was fun. Horse was really tall.
I hung out yesterday.
Oh, hey, Flatus, Hurricane Erica.
Yeah, I survived that little bit of wind and rain we got, which, you know, I feel bad for anybody in the Caribbean that got hit, Cuba, and that still got hit with the storm pretty head on, but I know it kind of fizzled out, which, I don't know what type of luck Florida's been getting the last, what are we now, 6 years without a hurricane? 7 at this point? So, you know, maybe Florida's a paladin, they just bubble. Like, everything just goes around it at this point.
The bubble is now in effect in the hurricanes dodge Florida.
Yeah.
All right. And Lucy?
Just busy.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is going to be a busy show because there's actually a lot of news that just came out of PAX. So for ECast news, PAX concluded today. It went on for the weekend. It's probably as big as Comic-Con and E3. So there's a little bit of news that came out of there. But first, our schedule. Repeat again, we will not be here next week. We're going to be taking the weekend off for Labor Day weekend to spend time with our friends and family out in the real world. The week after that, let me pull up the date real quick. That would be, what, September 13th? We will be back at a regular time and channel talking user-generated content. What happened? Was it all... Did it matter? So, again, that's 2 weeks from now. We're talking user-generated content. So, PAX news. Probably the biggest news coming out of PAX. The GuildWars 2 base game is now available at this very moment for free to download and play. It will be available for download and play until the expansion launches on October 23rd. And then I'm not quite sure what's going to happen because that's when their expansion launches. And there's no level advancement, so I don't know if they're going to be new zones or how that's going to work. But again, Guild Wars 2 is available right now for free. The expansion is currently available for pre-sale for $50. So Lucy, Sword Coast Legends. Thank you for pointing that game out to us, because all of the reviews from PAX, everything that I've been following along, it is, it's an impressive game. I'm so glad that we covered it because I love the innovation that they've added to the whole idea of online role-playing gaming with your friends.
And screw you for getting a free copy, saying.
I didn't get a free copy.
No, my husband did. Brat.
Wait, I've got a question. Was it standard edition or was it the deluxe edition?
I don't know. I'd have to go log into my Steam account and check it out. Because they sent me a Steam code and I just added it to my Steam library. And because right now the game's not out, there's nothing for me to download. So I didn't really pay that much attention to it. So, all right. So the other bit of news, one of the MMOs that I've been following along with is called Saga of Lucimia. And it is a niche MMORPG. And I like it because, like, in their FAQ, one of the things that it says is that there is no solo content in this game. Everything you do in this game, you will be doing with friends or in groups. And so that's one, like, if that's the type of game that appeals to you, then this is definitely an MMO that you want to check out. The reason why it's made the news, though, is because earlier today, they tweeted out the adventure begins with a date of September 19th. And I'm not sure exactly what they meant by that, because as far as their FAQ goes, they're looking at like a 2017 launch, not even a 2016 launch. So I'm not sure if that just means that they're talking about like their early friends and family access for the people to come and give them feedback on the game. Because at some point in time, you want to get like a little bit of outside feedback. And I think that that means that they're starting to open the door for that outside feedback. Star Wars The Old Republic, their expansion, Knights of the Fallen Empire, launches October 27th. And then Trion. Trion had a bunch of news coming out of PAX. I'm not going to try pronouncing that game, so somebody else jump in.
Devilian?
Devilian?
Yeah, Devilian.
So they announced that their alpha begins next week, and the Founders Packs are announced currently. Does that mean they're available for sale right now, like a pre-purchase?
I can find out right now.
All right. While Flatus is looking at, they also announced at PAX that they have a turn-based strategy game that they're going to be releasing called Atlas Reactor. And then the other bit of news that is coming out is that ArcheAge is currently having their 1-year anniversary. And so there's like their anniversary quest and an anniversary gift box that is available in the game if you just log in. And it's also a free-to-play game. So like if you want the anniversary gift, honestly, all you have to do is download it and log in. And then Lucy pointed out that Neverwinter reached 2 million players on Xbox One. Or that wasn't you? Was that Flatus?
Hi.
Hey, Flatus. I didn't realize that you were following up with Neverwinter. Is it just something that you saw, or why did that catch your eye?
It caught my eye because, as if you haven't caught on yet, we are talking all things online gaming. So to make sure that we cover not just PC related news, there's also console MMOs that have been spiking up. PlanetSide 2 is now on PlayStation 4. Neverwinter's on Xbox One. Supposedly maybe making its way over to the PlayStation 4 as well. But it's good. I think that's great for MMOs that they're kind of making their way to consoles. Usually that means more players.
It's funny you should say that, because one of my coworkers that got me into playing PC MMOs was playing Final Fantasy XI on his PlayStation 2. Like that was what he was playing that in like 2007, and he was like, "Oh hey, look, there's this Vanguard game coming out." So like the idea of MMOs on consoles, I think that it's not exactly new, but they definitely could see growth in that.
It's going to be a big boom because EverQuest Adventures was on PlayStation 2, and Final Fantasy XI was also on PlayStation 2 and Xbox 360. So these are good things. I think having a MMO that's free to play and easily accessible, that is on a console that you can go like look up what's free, what can I download for free. It's great that people, you can get your friends together. It's all right there for you in one little spot. You can get your group together, all party and talk on the chat, built into the system already, and it's an all-in-one package for them. So good stuff.
All right, and then Final Fantasy XIV.
Hi. We all knew who this is going to. Final Fantasy XIV is currently celebrating their 2-year anniversary. With that, there is a special event going on in game until September 7th. They had a live stream and they announced all new content. That's one of the things that Final Fantasy XIV does, is that they release content very regularly. So they went ahead and announced that all new content. There's going to be 2 new dungeons. An old dungeon's getting a hard mode from A Realm Reborn, and there's also being a whole new dungeon released this next coming patch. There's also the new 24-man raid. If you've been playing Final Fantasy XIV Heavensward, there's been a big, gigantic, mysterious spaceship over in the distance, and nobody knew what it was. And now it's announced as a 24-man raid. So 3 tanks, 15 DPS, and a whole mess of healers. So everybody get in that. And they're going to add some new... Kai just made a face like, what just happened?
Well, she heard spaceships, and I think that she was thinking space goats.
Oh, maybe. Also, all new housing and all new additions to the Golden Saucer, which is the gambling kind of casino area in Final Fantasy XIV. So I know one of the things that they're going to be adding that they announced is a RTS style mini game using your minions. I don't know if the minions, yeah. I don't know if each minion does something different, but it's making collecting minions more of an event now.
Where have we seen that before?
Well, WoW, but they do pet battling. So this is like I saw a screenshot of it, and it's like tons of minions. It looks like almost like an old school like RTS where you send them out to battle, and there's like power crystals. Little Zerg Rushy. Little Zerg Rushy, but it looks good, and they're also looking into maybe adding because you can race chocobos. They're looking at adding flight races with the chocobos as well. So, Final Fantasy XIV, a lot of stuff coming. And the one thing I want to add, I didn't write in there, but there's one thing I wanted to add that I sent. They did a little interview at Gamescom that I didn't catch, and I caught it this week. Is that they were asked about new content, and now one thing that they said they were going to do is add a whole bunch of experimental content. They figured that they have the base game set in stone. So now Nakio Yoshida, their game producer and director, said that he's going to use Heavensward as their way of exploring new and innovation in content, and he knows that some of them, if it succeeds, great. If it fails, they can't say that they didn't try. And I think that speaks leaps and bounds about him as a leader for their group of developers, that he's willing to try new stuff. And I don't think that a lot of game development companies are. He's willing to roll the dice, and I like to see that. So I'm excited.
All right, so Devilian, the Trion game, I have the price list right in front of me. It looks like silver pack is 50, the gold pack is 100, and the obsidian is 150. And there's a corgi that comes with it, a corgi pet.
It's also a bank vendor.
Yeah. So you see, I list is like, oh, corgi. Right.
Corgi?
Yeah.
I'm listening.
See?
Right. Okay,
the obsidian version looks like they got a polar bear of some sort.
Oh, you know how to push buttons.
It's a mount. It's a polar bear mount.
Go,
It
is a polar bear mount.
It looks like it was completely ripped out of the Golden Compass.
Oh,
it does.
So, real life husband over there.
Yeah.
Podcast husband knows what I like. Polar bears and corgis. I mean, I have a giant polar bear paw print tattoo on my shoulder. I like polar bears.
Yes.
True.
All right. So this evening, our conversation. Oh, Lucy,
I have one bit of personal EverCast news.
what's up?
I have my desktop back.
Woo! Amazing.
Right? I can actually game.
I has power again.
I cut 10 inches off of my hair from the last time I was on the show.
There is nothing new and interesting going on with me. I live out in the desert. I play video games. I work.
You could have said I cut 10 inches off my hair as well. And see if anybody knew. Like, if anybody knew the show, we'd be like, oh, wow, cool. Shit, you went bald.
I'm trying to.
I haven't cut my hair in. I want to say 4 years.
Oh, yeah. Is it super long? Like,
It's down my back.
We the only thing that I did differently was that when GuildWars 2 said that they were free to play, some of my friends that play MMOs, they're like, oh, I'm going to download and check it out. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to log in. And oh my God, I had so much inventory of like presents and gifts and stuff that they've sent me. Like, here's a, and two of the things that they sent me, one was a boost to level 20 and one was a boost to level 30. Like, they just mailed that to me. I'm like, wow, nice.
Oh, you mean GuildWars 2?
Yeah, did I say GuildWars 2?
I wasn't sure if you said GuildWars 2 or WoW. So
No, it's GuildWars 2 that I was playing.
if you log in every single day, you get a daily chest, and basically within a month of playing, you can
auto level it like all the way up to the top.
Basically, yeah, with the little things that they send you. I'm not even joking. Like, you could literally.
I noticed that. Like, I was getting like experience point buffs that like double and triple experience, and the thing about Guild Wars 2 is that like almost everything you do awards you experience. That's like, oh, you discovered a new zone. Here's experience. You killed something, experience. You completed a task, experience. Oh, you crafted something. Here's some experience.
You looked at something, experience.
Yeah.
I'm not lying, that's a thing.
So, WildStar. I'm going to grab control and steer it back onto WildStar. The reason why we were talking about WildStar is because it is making its transition to free-to-play. They don't have an official date, but I'm going to guess really, really soon. This isn't going to be necessarily an in-depth covering of the game because I've only had it for a week. Lucy's only had it for like 2 weeks. And Vladis had like a month of playing time. And so Vladis is our resident expert.
Hi.
But what the game is, it's a sci-fi MMORPG. It has two factions, the Dominion and the Exile. They're fighting over possession of a planet that is important to both of them. And there you have it. The question that I asked myself, and it's funny because now every MMO that I look at, I'm like, who is this MMO marketing to? Who is their target audience? Because you can't just say MMO players because it's too generic, it's too broad a term. You have to like look for your target demographic, your niche market. And so WildStar, and Lucy might disagree with us a little bit here, but Vladis and I were like, WildStar is marketing to the hardcore raiders and PvPers. Because what I was looking at, I didn't get a chance to raid myself, but I watched a raid on Twitch TV just to see how the mechanics of it functioned. But it is hardcore punishing mechanics. Like, if you make a mistake, you wipe. And that's the gameplay experience.
But that's raiding and dungeon gameplay experience, not get into the game and level up experience. In my opinion. In my opinion, it's cutesy, fun, like you can pick it up for 10 minutes, you can put it back down, it doesn't really matter. I think that the actual like leveling gameplay through the world is super casual.
It is, and coming from the person who's played the most, it is, and I hate to say it this way, but it doesn't prepare you for what's right when you walk into that first dungeon. You're like, I got this. Everything else out there is fine. You like, I can compare it to just pick a game. WoW. I'll go with WoW because we've all played WoW. It's kind of like walking into like Ragefire Chasm or one of the earlier dungeons in WoW where you expect it to be a little bit on the easier side. You know you need a little bit of cooperation, but it's a little easy. You may die if you've never played an MMO before. But there was a level of difficulty when I hit that first dungeon at WildStar that I've never seen. Well, I've seen it in raids, but I've never seen it in a dungeon. And it hits you down, and it did. You would think that it would have affected our morale as a group of people playing, but it didn't. Like we didn't get angry. We were just like we need to get better. We need to figure out like the makeup to try to pass this thing. We had I was tanking. We had people pick up extra healing slots and throw heals while they were doing DPS because the first boss throws out tornadoes and there's mobs in and like things go crazy that first boss. You're just like, I need my mommy.
I will say one thing for just the leveling up type of experience. It is not super easy to figure out what stats you should be stacking for what you want to do for your character. That's a little convoluted. Crafting is really convoluted. Like, you get... I was running around collecting fireflies because that's what I do. You run into a firefly and all of a sudden it's like, new challenge! Go collect all the fireflies. You're like, oh god, I was in the middle of a quest. Okay, challenge, yeah, let's do this. And I started like running around trying to find all these like flitting little yellow butterflies to like leap into so that you could collect them so you could win a challenge. And then it gives you these rewards you can select. And one's like an inventory increase. I was like, yes, please. And then some of them are like salvaging and crafting materials. And I hadn't even had any intro into the salvaging or crafting at that point, so I'm like, it's a little early for this sort of reward, but okay.
I'm gonna give them a lot of credit. Dorkish said in chat, WildStar's WoW dressed up in a sci-fi tutu. I would disagree, and Lucy disagreed in chat, but I'm going to disagree as well.
Well, we'll talk about the combat in just a second, and that's where I'll completely disagree.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but I mean, even your character customization, it feels more like it feels a little bit more intuitive than WoW's talent trees. With WoW's talent trees, every single time I would look it up because I didn't want to look it up. Like, I didn't want to be a useless character. In WildStar, I'm like, hey, I want to do assault and support. Like, I want to be able to DPS and heal, so I'm going to do these things. And it kind of like tells you to put them here, like visually, in order to do both of those things. So I feel like that was a little bit more easier to understand, but there are some things that are just really hard. Like, I was like, I don't know, Moxie, I guess. I'm sure that just put that on. It'll be fine. You'll get new gear later.
Like any MMO, just wait till the end. Just wait till the end and you'll figure it out. I was gonna say that the questing early on, the questing seems.
We had the notes.
Oh yeah,
there's a list.
There is a list. I'm so sorry.
But no, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. It's just that like I don't want to jump over some things because we wrote down and we collaborated on what we want to talk about.
We did.
We were talking about who the game is marketed to, and I want to say that the voice acting, whatever you want to call it, that when you level up, that level up.
I would say that is the best thing in any MMO ever.
And there's thinly veiled swearing, so I don't even think that it even could be for kids. Like, I mean, like 6, 7, 8, 9, like in that area. Like, and I will tell one thing. It's the only time I've ever been called cupcake, and I didn't want to punch the person who said it because it was hilarious.
Right, and that goes back to when I first started playing Heroes of the Storm, and there was that double kill, triple kill, and it was just like that
it makes you want to be like, okay, find more things to kill. Find more things to kill right now.
Right. It's that whole like I don't want to say that it's exactly conditioning, but it is a better reward than the ding that you leveled up.
It's exciting. It makes you want to level up to the next tier just to hear the next sound clip. Just to like, man, I want to hear that next one. Gets you amped up.
All right, so when we were talking about WildStar, we talked about the combat style and how it is completely unlike Warcraft. It is more like Smite, and in that regard, it's kind of like Landmark, where there is no tab targeting, that you have to aim your abilities in order for them to hit the target.
As an Esper, you have to loosely aim your abilities in order to hit
I played a medic, and my first ability was a pretty wide arc, but my second ability was a much longer range thing that I had to line up. And it had a cast time, so that means that like I could imagine in PvP setting, somebody sees that I'm about to lay down the thunder on this line, they're just going to move out of the way. So you wait for them to be immobile, and then you unload on them.
Can I ask a question?
What's up?
How often do you say lay down the thunder when you play PvP?
Normally I don't, because I play medics and healers and support roles.
No. Then he just talks about dropping the holy healing bombs.
I don't know who started that, but when Holy Paladins, I don't know if you know this or not, but they drop down holy healing bombs. It's like...
It sounds like an awkward euphemism for just, like, farting.
Oh, the holy...
Or accidentally shitting yourself.
I just dropped a holy hand grenade.
Maybe it's just me.
So, anyway, in WildStar, I learned very quickly to look at the ground, because the ground turns red when you need to get out of the way of stuff. I'm
not sure how far you went, but eventually once you fight like cooler, like sort of boss type mobs, the telegraphs at the bottom have like interesting patterns, and there's like places where melee can stand to get out of it without like dodging all the way back, and they're like interestingly shaped, so you have to like actually, like, you can't just like dodge to get out of the way, you actually have to think about which way you're gonna move. It actually gets pretty cool.
I can give an example of that. Like, I can actually go back to that one of the dungeons. In one of the dungeons, the telegraph was a circle. It took up the whole area, and there was little holes in the telegraph, and that's where you knew you had to stand to avoid the crazy damage. I was like, everybody get in the Swiss cheese.
But see, like Warcraft has bosses like that where it would, but they just didn't throw a circle on the ground. But I'm thinking of the last boss in Grim Batol. The Underlord guy, he would do the swirling hurricane thing, but in the hurricane that he summoned, there was a little eye of the storm, and everybody had to go run to stand in the eye of the storm. But yeah. The main thing is that there's no tap targeting, so there's no locked on ability. There is no, well, I'm going to say that for the medic there was no auto attack. I'm assuming that there's no auto attack on the game. So you have to actively dodge and attack. You can't just stand there and do your swing and eventually kill them off.
I absolutely love that you have to actually be engaged in your game in order to play, because I know so many people who will play two games at a time. Like, we'll be raiding in one game and we'll be like questing or whatever in another, and I'm like, you're not, like, are you even having fun? Like, if you're not playing the game, then why? Why?
I will say this, in respect to Talon being the healer with the paddle guns that he gets, it is interesting from a tank standpoint how not only do I have to be aware of the telegraphs of the boss fighting, I have to be aware of where the healer is pointing his telegraph to, so I can get the heal.
Right. And that actually reminds me of games like Heroes of the Storm and Smite to an extent, is like, hey, I'm throwing down my healing over here, let's go move to it, so that you were coordinating where would be the most strategic place to lay your healing down at, because it wasn't as simple as just like pointing and clicking on their on their health bar and, you know, pressing your buttons and turning your blue bar into their life bar. Do we want to go more into the combat? That was kind of a brief overview.
Yeah, I will say this one real quick thing. When you compare it to Smite, and I will say this, that I think it's a little more fluid than Smite's combat is, because I think Smite is kind of on a limited button range and like on the track, where I think WildStar has more of the freedom of movement around characters and stuff. I don't know. I just feel like playing both games, I feel like WildStar's combat is a little flows a little nicer.
It's also easier to move the camera around because it's a true three-dimensional game, and it's not a like Smite. It's a three-dimensional space, but you play it in only 2 dimensions. There's no vertical axis. Pay model. Oh, you know what? What is pay model? So it's going to go the traditional free-to-play model for, you know, MMO or RPGs. They're going to have a cosmetic store and a cash store. It sounds like there's going to be like random things that you can buy, because that's one of the ways that that's a method of generating revenue for a game that's been proven to work. You allow people to spend money on random rewards. Some of them are epic and some of them are less than epic. But it makes money for your game when that's your model. One of the innovations that I've seen on their free-to-play model that I haven't seen anywhere else is their loyalty program, which is it's different than Daybreak Game All Access, in that, like, Daybreak Games All Access, you could pay your monthly All Access fee, and they would give you station cash every month
and a discount in their store.
Right, but this is a loyalty program in the more you spend, the better reward that you can get over time. So they're tracking about how much money that you've spent on the game, and the more money you spend on the game, the better loyalty reward you get down the road.
Like Final Fantasy, when you see, I can always bring back to that game. The longer you stay sub to Final Fantasy, the more rewards you get. Like every like sub 3 months, you get a pet and like a new costume. I think just recently I got one of them was a mount. I think for my first year I got the Bahamut mount, and now I recently got a new like fun dress up costume headpiece and a minion for 400 like some odd days, like almost 500 days being subbed.
I think it's actually kind of like a cool mechanic, because I played Guild Wars 2 free to play. Obviously the game was, I think the game was free to play, right? You bought the game and then it was free to play.
Buy to play.
Yeah, Guild Wars 2 is the
buy to play.
They've always been buy to play.
I bought the game thinking, oh, sweet, I can just play the game, whatever. They somehow got like 10, 20 bucks out of me every month with those, you know, outfits and you know, like the other stuff that they would put in their cash shop that was just cool, like appearance armor or like something to do with the story that they were telling. And it would be cool to have a loyalty program based on the fact that I did give them money, even though that I didn't subscribe. I was giving them money. I'm just not sure about the types of rewards. Like, I'm not sure like how it's going to play out. I'm not a game designer, so I don't know how to balance that sort of thing, where it's like it's not pay to win, if that makes sense.
I'm going to try and look up what their loyalty, they call it cosmic tiers, so I'm going to look it up real quick and find out what sort of information that I can find about it.
They have like the normal stuff, like at such and such, and you get a cosmic tier just for buying the game. Like if you wanted to buy the game right now before it unlocks, you get X number of points that gives you most, like a good chunk of their rewards program. If you get the digital deluxe version, it's even more than that. You get even more points that gets you towards the cosmic tiers. And it's stuff like pets, mounts, cosmetic items.
Well, one of the things that I see that is interesting is that it's that like the 2000 cosmic tier reward, full guild access, full circle access, full war party access. So basically that's something that a subscriber already has. But if you spend, you know, if you spend X amount of money lifetime, then you're considered to have been like, you have these benefits that a paying member has. And I think that's actually a pretty smart move, that if you're not a subscriber, they give you the benefits of a subscription if you've spent just as much as you would have if you had been a subscriber. Because they're going to also continue having a subscription. So it's going to be like you can play for free, use the cash shop, and then they have a subscription option.
I will definitely do the play for free, use the cash shop if I'm into it, because like when I'm really into a game, I'll buy things from the cash shop if they're cool. I just will. I don't mind doing that. When I rolled on EQ, their time-locked expansion server, and again on EQ2, I bought character slots, I bought backpacks. Like, I'm spending most of it is I'm spending my Daybreak cash that I have stored up, but I am buying things on the store, if that makes sense. Like, and I would put more money on my account if I needed to buy another character slot, etc., etc. So, and GuildWars 2, I probably dumped at least $10 a month into that game just on outfits. I'm not gonna lie, it was on outfits.
See, right. And I'm the opposite of that. In that, we might have to do a whole show about this. That I would rather have the entire game for a subscription or for an upfront cost known ahead of time and just pay it every month, because I am not the person that buys outfits. I don't spend money on the game, period. And it's not, and again, it's not because I don't like spending money on video games. It's just that I just don't think about it. Like, I'm playing the game, I see something cool, and I think to myself, how can I get that in the game? And they're like, oh, it's $10. And I'm like, whatever. And then I move on. And by the way, I looked it up. It's called the signature account when you're a subscriber.
But that actually, that kind of like benefits you though, because you get the game for free to play, and then you just don't use the cash shop, so you're not spending money, but you're still getting the game and you're still getting the content that the people who are using the cash shop are basically paying for.
Well, I will, if I was playing WildStar on a regular basis with a group of people, and we were logging in once or twice a week and playing together, I would probably subscribe to the game just because I want to be able to support it. But my issue is that it has to meet those criteria beforehand. I have to be logging in on a regular basis to play with people for some sort of you know, hey, we're going to do this, or this is what's going to go on, or I can't just log into a free-to-play game by myself and play it on my own and feel comfortable playing with it, because I know my attention span. I won't keep playing it. I will eventually be like, what else is out there? What else looks interesting? And move on. So moving on, the art style of WildStar is on point. It is extremely stylized cartoon art, even more so than Warcraft or like the original like Karen that we saw from EQ Next. The note I have written down is that it is more Star Wars Clone Wars cartoon than Star Wars The Old Republic is. Like, they don't even try to do photorealism. They're like, here's a goofy looking human with a exaggerated, you know, shoulders and an itty bitty waist, and come on, you're playing a cartoon.
Sorry, you said itty bitty waist and my brain started singing along.
A round thing in yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tiny waist, big shoulders. No, it is highly stylized.
So you can play different body types. You get to choose your body type. Let's just put that out there.
Oh, right. I'm just saying that it is exaggerated caricatures.
Wow.
No, not WoW. Not like WoW. She's gonna beat me. But it's you know what I was saying, right? It is a cartoon look, so everything is exaggerated as a caricature.
Yep.
All right, moving on. I don't want to have to say that word again.
No,
Caricature.
I loved the their their art style and their just the way they sort of like, I mean, you can exaggerate their features to make them look doofy if you really want to. Like if you go into your face customization, you've got all these sliders, and I thought one of the cool things is you can take a face and you can like tweak it and like move the nose and like tilt their eyes and like make their mouth big or little or their jaw and things like that. And then you can go back and you can see what it would look like with all of those choices on other faces, and sometimes you're like, oh god, what happened to them? You're like, is that really a stock face? And I'm like, oh no, it's because of my changes that I just made.
It's great. I think the style fits the game because the game
absolutely
in such the great way. I don't mean that in a bad way at all. The game takes itself lightly. It's very comedic. It's very funny. We mentioned the leveling and how that. So, and the characters in the game give you that same sense. The creatures are over the top and dramatic and crazy looking, and it's cool. I think it's such a breath of fresh air to play a sci-fi MMO. Instead of like, as much as I like dragons and swords, it is really fun to see characters with designs of like the Mordesh who are like undead and have like robot parts and like things and like cables coming out of their neck and stuff like that. I think that's really cool. So good job. Good job on that art style.
Funny people.
Oh, the RN, yeah, they're really awesome.
So one of the notes that I had written down, and I talked to Flatus about this, is that screen tearing. The performance of the game, it worked. Like I didn't notice any bugs. I didn't feel like the game was unpolished. It definitely was. I mean, quality-wise, performance-wise, way up there. Except for the fact that if I did any quick movements, I got screen tearing and bad screen tearing, where it was like felt like my screen was getting torn in half.
I had nothing like that.
I think it's different across the board because like you mentioned earlier, I played the game very early on, and it was beta and early on, so I expected kind of some screen tearing. So I was a little shocked that you had experienced it. So I don't know. Maybe when they go free to play, they're testing beta right now. I can't like we're just two people that are you running 2 cards or 1?
Yeah, 2 cards, 3 monitors. And so I think that might have something to do with it. But the only reason I bring it up as a performance issue is that I play other, like I was playing Warcraft in GuildWars 2 earlier today, and I didn't have any screen tearing issues. It's noticeable in WildStar, and when I say noticeable, it's so noticeable that I can't just overlook it.
I wonder if it's the fact that we both use 2 cards that there was an issue there. Because I don't know, Lucy, do you use one? Are you single card or do you use?
I was playing on a laptop.
Oh, okay. So 1.
Yeah, and you know what? When Kyla, if she loads it up, she's got 1 card, so we can do the comparisons. So that was it for performance. Character customization, we kind of briefly talked about this a little bit.
I literally spent hours going through every single race and gender playing with the character customizer. I'm not gonna lie.
It's really good. It is. At times it feels like character customization is definitely like something that every MMO has to have. You know, you have to. Each of us when we're playing our character has to feel like we're creating our character. I think that, like, if you look at games like Warcraft, I don't think they have enough character customization. I think that's one of my criticisms of it, is that, like, I feel like everybody looks exactly the same. Their character, like, people can transmog for their armor, but if you take Blood Elves out of their clothing, it's like you really don't feel like they look that much different. And part of that is because you can for the most part, you can change the color of the skin, but you can't change the shape of the body. And that's a criticism for Warcraft. But then on the other hand, I think that I went
from EverQuest 2, where you literally had control of every single minute detail of your character's face, height, well, I mean, you didn't have body types, but you did have a height slider and like their complete face. You like tiny, minute details you could change. And then I went to WoW, and I was like, so there's 4 faces and 3 hairstyles.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously exaggerating. There's more than 4 faces and 3 hairstyles. I felt limited because I came from so much customization.
Right. But do you think that there is a point where there is too much customization? Because I felt like that
No.
when I played it. I felt like that when I played other games, and I think that WildStar is on the way, lots of customization, but not so much that it feels like there's too much.
I will sit there for hours and I will play with it. I'm not like, give me a way to save it. Like WildStar gives you a code that you can save, or you know, do what you will with. But I save them. And then EverQuest 2, you could literally just name it and save it within their character creation window. I love it. Like, if EverQuest Next is even remotely like these games, I will just make characters and be like, oh, I'm gonna make an elf that's this tall and this chubby and this long haired and this snooty and this, like, I will sit there and just make characters. I'm a weirdo.
I had to go look it up. I had to go look up Chua because I needed to remind myself, because I remember the Makari were the ones that found them. Yeah, Chua are there's no difference between male and female, and they're speculated to be hermaphroditic, so that's why they have and they're what was the term?
Gendered.
Humanoid hamsters. That's what they called them. And
Hamsters.
they're known to reproduce rapidly. That's why they use a lot of male pronouns
But
to speak
they-
in casualty. So.
But they don't have really girly type features that you can add. Like, you can't be like, I'm more girly or I'm more masculine. It's just masculine.
Because they're not supposed to have masculine or feminine differences from one another. But I don't know how the game. I only played with the Chua for a little bit. They do give them.
You can make one that looks like a terrier.
Yeah.
With a giant mustache and like eyebrows.
Yeah.
It's kind of, they're hilarious.
It's kind of like they're animals with intelligence. That's essentially what they are. Like, you can't when you're looking at a hamster without, like, you're not gonna be able to say it like that's a female unless you know that. If I walked into like a tray full of hamsters, I couldn't tell you which one was male or female. I'd be like, I don't know, that one.
I think you could make them pink, but none of them what I'm saying is, like, to me, they didn't look.
My name's Sarah. Feminine. They had no feminine.
No, not just feminine. They didn't look middle of the road. They didn't look ambiguous to me. They looked more male to me than female. So if they're gonna be ambiguous, make them ambiguous. Make them androgynous. Make them be like, I don't know.
Like the robots should be.
No, I like that you can be a male or female robot.
They were
What?
They were
Why
created
not?
by the creatures that no longer live on Nexus, so we don't know why they were created both male and female.
I just want to know why he has a problem with robots being gendered.
But it's so they can fit in. So
It
they
wor-
can
it
fit
wor-
in into society.
It
That's
works
why
in
they wear
Futurama.
clothes.
There's a term called projecting humanity onto inanimate objects, like anthropomorphizing. Like, most of the people do that to animals like dogs and cats. We project personalities onto pets when they don't. We project human traits onto animals when they really don't have any human traits. And I feel it's the same kind of thing about robots. The robot doesn't really have a gender, but we're projecting it. But it looks weird to me when the robot projects a gender back at me. Like, it's just a robot.
I like it. I like that they're sassy.
So that was the character customization. We talked a little bit about like the gendered role. Like, there's one race in the game that is non-gendered, and then there was one race that is, and it's a little interesting to talk about. My biggest surprise about playing the game that I didn't know about beforehand is the music, the original soundtrack. I'm trying to think of words to describe how good I think the soundtrack is. It was so good that I deleted a character so I could play through a zone a second time so I could hear the music again because I couldn't find it on YouTube. It's so good that after I played through it a second time and I still couldn't find it on YouTube, I played through it a third time and recorded it on OBS and then uploaded it. That's how good I felt the music was.
Couldn't you find the music files in the game? Files
I don't know how to do that.
All right. Maybe someone in chat knows and they maybe message us after.
Well, see, the thing is that it's just like the
or post it in chat.
But see, it's not about finding the music. It's there's if you go to the and I have the link. I'll get that for you guys in just a second. The WildStar extended OST soundtrack list that's on YouTube. That's the official music. There's 250 independent tracks, and I flipped through 50 or 60 of them and couldn't find the one piece of music that I wanted, and that's why I'm like, screw it, I'll just record it. So even if I could find the files on my computer, I still have to go through 250 sounds, and I didn't really feel like doing that. But as I said, the original soundtrack, I'll get that link for you. Probably, I mean, top 3 of all video games that I've ever played. Maybe even the #1 track.
I liked the music not as much as I liked the voiceovers. Did any of you guys make it to the Lops in game? Did you make it to the quest thing with the Lops?
Yes. The Lops are great. The Lops are so much. What was it? It was lick something, get dizzy, which was one.
There were little mushrooms along their little tree house, and you walked up to it. It's F to interact, and it's lick the lollilops. They're called lollilops. These little mushrooms are called lollilops. And I was like, I'm gonna lick it. I'm gonna do it. Obviously, I'm gonna do it. And so, I'm getting no spoilers. No spoilers. Okay, lick the lollilops. Just do it.
I won't give any.
They're mushrooms.
There was a quest called Lick Lollilops, Get Dizzy, which was an old callback to Yoshi's Island, which is Touch Fuzzy, Get Dizzy. So I love that they threw in an old school reference. If you played console SNES era games and played Yoshi's Island, you got that reference, and I love that. I love that whoever developed that quest is man, I'm gonna throw this little thing in, and I loved it. Also, the Lops are great. There's a whole dungeon surrounding Lops, by the way.
They're just tiny little. They're so cute. It's just oh my god. And the vegetables, the little vegetables with faces.
Oh, you can get them as pet. You can get one as pet.
Hello, I think we might have broke Lucy.
You can also get a Lop as a pet, by the way.
There's literally you can walk into an area. And the vegetable, they couldn't get me away from the vegetables. I'm like, hello friends, hello, look at you, little radishes, little carrots, walking around, you're so happy.
Okay, so from now on, Lucy is now Alice of the Vegetables.
It's so cute.
It's so Alice in Wonderland, but instead of the flowers, it's the vegetables.
Such an early on quest with those veggies, and they're so adorable because they have these little Muppet faces on them, and they're adorable.
Just Lucy goes around licking mushrooms. And squeaking over vegetables. It just sounds so wrong.
There's also a sneezing caterpillar, and it was adorable. He's like, it's you. It's you. I'm like, oh.
There is.
It's so cute. So cute.
If you looking, listen. If you're any type of softie, looking at cute things like I do, there's a section of that game where I was just oh, the little things.
So, in new EverCast news. When this show is over, Kai will be downloading and purchasing WildStar so she can week with Lucy over the lickable mushrooms that make you dizzy and the cute vegetables.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
So much. So, character paths and story.
Yeah, character paths. You get a scan bot if you're a scientist, and it follows you.
I was gonna.
Hey,
When I started playing the game, you on character creation you get a choice of race, class, and path, and it doesn't tell you what the path is while you're going through your character creation. And I thought that it was part of. I thought it was going to be part of your character, and I'm going to use the Warcraft analogy. Like in Warcraft, you have race, class, and then specialization. I thought that WildStar had like, your race, your class, and then your path. And your path was kind of like your Warcraft specialization. Boy, was I wrong. It's completely has nothing to do with your character exactly. It has more to do with your personality as a player. Because I went offline and I was looking around and poking around at what that path is. And it's kind of like the game wants to tell you a story while you're playing it, like most MMORPGs do. And the path that you pick, it tries to deliver a story to you in a way that you find desirable. Like this is your preferred play style, then they're going to give you a story that supports your play style. And so it goes back to the Bartel test. Did I pronounce that right, Lucy? Bartle? Is it Bartle or Bartel?
Bartle.
The Bartle test in relation to character progression. So there's and it's not scientific, it's kind of generalizations that you make a chart and if this corner, this corner, this corner, and this corner have different characteristics of them. And so you have 4 different paths that you can take. I picked soldier at first because I thought, that I wanted to be a soldier, but after I read it, I picked explorer because I wanted the game to have me explore the world as I was playing through it.
As a scientist, I actually find a lot of things to like scan, and it gives you lore and it gives you like puzzles to unlock and stuff like that. So I did feel like it was part of my character, but it didn't change the very base game. It didn't change the quests you do. It just added different quests to the theme park, if that makes sense.
And it does. And I only got to do one of my path quests, and it was basically I had to find things, and then there was jumping puzzles associated with it because then it was an explorer. And one of the things I had to do, and this is kind of funny, right? Is like it wants you to climb up the tree and find a spot in the tree, and that's where you complete the quest. And I ended up going like 50 meters higher than where the quest is, climbing up this tree because I was like, oh, I can get higher. Oh, I can get higher. I can still get, because I figured that that's what the quest wanted me to do, until I'm like, okay, where do I turn this quest in at? And then I realized, oh, it's way down there. I'm 50 meters higher than where I needed to get. So I think that in that regard, once I understood what the path was, it made a whole lot more sense, and it makes me want to like, well, I've seen one exploration type quest. I wonder what else is out there. It makes me kind of want to go out there and find them. On the other hand, and Flatus knew about this, and he waited for me to find it on my own. I played in Exile, and last week we talked about the man-crick problem, and the man-crick problem is basically there's an NPC quest giver who gives you a quest to find his wife, even though he's been giving that same quest to every character that's come by for the last 10 years, and he is like, well, how many people have gone out there and found your wife for you? Come on, get it together, man. And no joke, the first quest that you get when you play the Exile is a quest to find somebody's wife.
Very first one. You walk right in, he's like, find my wife. First thing Tamlin does is put in a message, he's like, there's a freaking quest to find someone's wife. And I'm like, I didn't want to tell you. I'd rather you experience the game solo.
And then So that was one of my issues with it, was that it's the whole, like, and at that very moment, the instant that he gave me the quest, it reminded me that I am not playing a truly open world, that this is my personal instance narrative, that I am playing solo, because he's telling me to find his wife, but he's also telling every other character that's come through the game to go find his wife, and it kind of reminds me of that, and I don't like that. I want to be in an open world. And then my second part of that is that in the in the starting zone, you start out in a zone. You can't leave it until you complete these quests. So there is no like going out into the world and exploring right away. You kind of have to. I would say that, to be fair, that it's about like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to get through the starting zone before you get thrown out in the world. And once you're out in the world, you can run around and do whatever you want. And then Flatus, you were saying that they're looking to change that. You want to talk about how they're planning on changing that?
They are adding a system in when you first start to create your character and everything, get that done, there's going to pop up a screen. What level of MMO player are you? Are you a novice? Are you intermediate? Or are you expert? You choose that, and it's going to adjust to where you start in the game. Because usually when you start an MMO, it's always the same thing. You pick up those first couple quests, but always those first couple quests are like, how do you aim? How do you attack? In a game like WildStar, where if you wanted to make another character, or if you're not new to the genre, you don't want to sit there and say, I know how to use my keys, I know how to set my buttons up. I mean, there's little things that you'll have to teach yourself, like, there's always a new UI, but other than that, they're all pretty much...
The UI doesn't deviate much from the norm, though. If you've played any MMO ever, you can just jump right in.
Yeah.
Right.
WASD to move, and then if you got...
Spacebar to jump.
Yeah. So if you got that down, you're fine. So they start you further along, and you can hop right down to Nexus if you want, start questing and do all that stuff. I don't know if it gives you, the one thing I don't know is if it gives you that experience that you would normally get on the ship. If they just go out there, you don't care, you just want to start the quest. I don't know where it puts you and what does it give you. Relax, Karma. That's the one thing I don't know. I know that it doesn't start you in that zone. I think it puts you down on Nexus and starts you off right where you're supposed to be. It gets rid of the starting area, which is the ship.
I think at one point, I read, sorry, I have a weird memory. I can remember the things that I've read by where they appear on a page. I think it said something about you start right off a Nexus at level 3. So I think it does skip you ahead. But at that point, who wants to go through the beginning quests in World of Warcraft one more time? At that point, you can be okay, I can skip this and just go to level 3. I don't have to deal with take candle ever again. So, it's funny the first time, and then the 27th time, you're I'm done. I think it's a really good idea. Be able to skip this tutorial quest and just put you down.
Right, and that's where I think that other MMOs have got to innovate on this a little bit more, because we want to feel like our character is advancing, right? But we don't want to feel... I don't want to feel like my character can't advance unless I'm doing tasks for people that I wouldn't expect my character to do. Last week we talked about my paladin character getting blackout drunk, and I'm that's not a character who I expected to be drinking. In WildStar, my character was tasked with fixing someone's television cameras. It's very, very early in the zone, but I literally couldn't advance any further out of the zone until I finished that, and I didn't feel like this is, I picked soldier, I picked medic. Why am I fixing people's cameras? I'm not your camera repairman. And we started off as an EverQuest Next podcast, and one of the things that we look forward the most about EverQuest Next is the promise of just play the game, and your character will advance and progress as you're playing the game. You're not going to be doing these narrated closed world tasks for the most part.
Fix a camera. Get out of here.
I think in that respect, EverQuest Next has it right when they say we're not going to put you in a starting zone. You're going to get right down into the first the closest rally call, right there in the action, playing with your friends who are already there. You don't have to level up to get to them to be with them. You're right there. Now I say that I haven't heard anything recently about the game and if that's still their goal, because I know some people were complaining about the fact that they didn't have their own little areas to start in. I want a Fey Zone, or I didn't hear Fey Zone, but I want the Hobbit, excuse me, not Hobbit, that is intellectual property. I want the Halfling Zone. I want this, and it's like, but come on, like, wouldn't you want to just, like, be able to play with your friends? I think everybody has had a situation where they were playing an MMO, and they got, like, a friend got you into it, and you had to, like, grind through whatever content they had already done.
Right, and that's I jumped into ArcheAge like a couple months ago for whatever reason, and it was funny that they're recruiting for this and I'm thinking in my head, you know what that means? It means that as I'm a level 10, I cannot assist that guild that's recruiting at this very moment. I am useless to them. In order for me to be useful to this guild that's recruiting, I have to grind through a bunch of content to catch up with them level wise, and then if there's like a tier progression where there's different tiers of raid gear, how many tiers of raid gear am I behind where they're at? And it's like, I would love to be able to just jump into this game and be like, hey friends, I would like to play with you. Would you like to play with me? Let's go on an adventure together. But I can't. I literally have to spend a week or 2 weeks and not enjoying the content, rushing through the content in order to play with other people.
I hate rushing through content, because later on your friends who had the chance to just level as they wanted to be like, oh yeah, remember that quest in this place and it was so cool? I'm like, no, I don't. You kept telling me to gear up and level harder so that I could get to the same place that you are.
And one MMO, we very rarely talk about it, but I want to throw it out there, that an MMO that is very easy for you to join in with an organization and contribute right away is EVE Online. Because even if you've been playing for like a day or two, they can throw you in a ship and you can actually use that ship in a squadron or organizational setting, and it has a specific purpose. And sure, you can't fly a capital ship, but they don't need a bunch of players flying around in capital ships. They need people flying around in the littler ships that you can play in. You can fly this in like a week or two if you really want to. So yeah, that was one of the whole level grinding thing.
And not only that, but what you just said about EVE Online, if EverQuest Next delivers with popping you down right in the rallying calls, your character fresh out of character creation can make a difference to either side, or to a city, or to a faction, or to an NPC, like in a living world, in a rallying call where the things that you do matter. And that's what I want to see. I don't want to have to be max level to see cool things.
Right.
I will say, one more thing about GuildWars 2. There's always like that story that's going on in the world. They have a world story. I think it's called a world story. I couldn't participate. Like when I first started playing around Halloween, I couldn't participate in the Halloween stuff because I was level 1.
Yep.
Like even in Guild Wars 2, where it helps you play with other characters because you level to the zone you're in, you can't level up to a zone higher. Your friends can only level down. So I really want to see a game that lets you just play with your friends, no matter what skill level you're at, no matter what gear level or gear tier or whatever.
And I will say that about Guild Wars 2, since we jumped back into that a little bit today, or I jumped in, that Guild Wars 2 is one of those games where even at level 1 you can jump into world PvP with an organization, and sure, you're not at the same level as the players that are like max level and they've got their skill trees completely filled out and they're geared all the way out. But at least the game doesn't mechanically or arbitrarily say that you can't compete with them. It says you can play with them and we're going to level you up to level 80, but you're at a disadvantage, but it's not like it is a crippling disadvantage now that I'm thinking about it, because you're almost totally useless. But you can run around. You can lay siege to a castle with your friends right at level 1, and that's an awesome feeling and an experience for a new player.
And I also don't want my friends who have already been playing to think that they're like doing me like they have to do me a favor to play with me, like leveling down or leveling like going to a lower level area. They're not getting anything out of that besides just playing with you. They're not actually getting cool things that they can use.
Yep.
Yeah. I was gonna say really, really quick. The one thing neither of you got to was the housing
or the crafting.
Or the crafting. So I'm gonna touch on those two super quick.
Awesome.
All right. And I'm gonna answer if I forgot their name.
Orion.
That one. Yeah. Fit Orion. WildStar house crafting. What if I don't care about dungeons? Then there are things. Oh, what are the other things you can do? There's PvP. PvP is games like capture the flag or hold like this little skull. And crafting in the game is actually, if you're into it, it's really in depth because they do have a lot of crafting that covers not only gear, but they have crafting that is nothing but crafting things for housing. So if you are not into crafting gear per se, but you also want to craft like chairs and stuff for housing, you can do that, and that's actually a really good solid money maker in that game, because housing's really big, and I've seen people build like skate parks. There's hoverboards in the game, so I've seen people build skate parks out of their houses, and there's things you can do, like you get mining nodes for your house, and there's like games you can play that give you XP and stuff like that. So and you level up stuff. So housing is great. It's a lot of fun. It's a cool little interaction, and the fun thing is you can go visit your friends' houses, and I believe they were going to add guild housing as well. I'm not sure if they did. If they did and someone knows in chat, please let me know. But it's a lot of fun. As for crafting's it's kind of like plug things in and see what you can make. And in that retrospect, it can go pretty deep from what I can understand. I did a little bit of crafting for my character, and it was interesting to see what I was making, because I can like plug these like pieces in and all go away. So hopefully that answers all those questions. And I think that's it. Barbara?
So we can turn it over to a Q&A. Did we have any other questions to cover?
Just the crafting questions. That's it. If anybody else in chat has a question, if not, forever hold your peace.
All right. Well,
no.
While they have time to find a question.
Oh, okay. 30 seconds.
If they have any, yeah. If they have, reminder again, we're not here next week. We will be back the week after, which is, I think it's September 13th, is the Sunday. Let me double check that real quick. Yeah, September 13th, we will be back regular time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will be talking about user-generated content, both the game tool development that they've given us and the spontaneous player-created generated content.
And I will not be on that episode because I will be in downtown Los Angeles working.
Ooh.
And if you are listening to us on Stitcher or iTunes, thank you. We appreciate it. Be sure to give us a thumbs up or a like or leave a comment. We welcome all sorts of feedback. If you're watching this on YouTube, again, we appreciate all the feedback that you've given us.
Yes. So if you are new to watching us here on Twitch, give us a follow down there. We do this not next Sunday, but we tend to do this every Sunday. You just happen to catch us on a week that a 3-day weekend happens, so we want to go spend time with some of our families and game and do all that fun stuff. So give us a follow there. We are also on YouTube at EverCast_show. You can email us all your questions at email.show@gmail.com. Please send us questions. We will answer almost anything except, you know, what I do personally.
Right.
Maybe I will. I don't know. Let's see. And we have Reddit, and that's EverCast show at our Reddit page, and we have Twitter, and that's EverCast_show. I think that is it. Except for that question. Yeah. Not going to answer that. But bye. We're going to camp out. Who wants to campus?
Who wants the campus? Let Kyle ask campus. See how fast she can get through it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
4, 3, 2, 1.